Assalamu alaikum, community. On behalf of Imam Tariq El-Amin, resident Imam of Masjid Al-Taqwa, Taaleem Committee Chair, Dr. Aisha Muhammad, and the committee members, Dr. Lionel Allen Jr., Rashida Fitzpatrick, and Dr. Gloria Bashir, I want to welcome you to today's Taaleem. Our topic today is Lights, Camera, Action, a therapeutic media program. Our speaker today is Agin Muhammad Jr. He is a graduate of Chicago State University, where he received a Master's of Arts degree in Counseling Psychology. Mr. Muhammad also obtained a Master's of Science in Criminal Justice, as well as a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Accounting, both from Chicago State University. Although dedicated to the criminal justice system, working as a probation officer while teaching psychology and criminal justice, Mr. Muhammad found himself in the world of art. In 2005, Mr. Muhammad produced and directed his first play, A Man's Gotta Do, which was performed in front of dozens in 2007, 2009, 2011, and 2014. In 2011, A Man's Gotta Do won the Las Vegas International Film Festival as a television plot. Mr. Muhammad's play, Letters from Prison, received an official selection in the 2012 San Diego International Film Festival, and in the same year was performed in Chicago in front of dozens of admirers. Mr. Muhammad's plays have been performed at DuSable Museum of African American History in Chicago, Illinois, Kennedy King College in Chicago, Illinois, Madam C.J. Walker Legacy Center in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Porter Sanford III Performing Arts in Decatur, Georgia. Mr. Muhammad credits August Wilson for his love for stage plays and recently added screenwriting to his resume, crediting films by Spike Lee and Martin Scorsese as his reason for wanting to become a screenwriter. There will be time at the end for Q&A. Please feel free to use the raise hand function or submit questions or comments in the chat. Also, Taqwa family, please mute yourself if you are not speaking to help us avoid background noise. Before we begin, please note that today's Taaleem, as well as all past and future Taaleems and cookbahs, are available on the Masjid Al-Taqwa YouTube channel. If you're not already, please subscribe. Without any further ado, I give you Agin Muhammad Jr.
Assalamu alaikum, community. I was asked to join your group by my sister, and she knows I like to talk, so not hard to get me to talk. Just in the microphone. The program that I've started is called Lights, Camera, Action, and it's set to be put in the urban high schools, African American high schools, to work with students that have had inappropriate outbursts or students that have displayed behaviors that keeps them in trouble. A little background information about myself, a little more than what my sister just read. I started working with the Illinois Department of Corrections when I got out the Marine Corps when I was 21. And it saddened me to be a prison guard and to see like so many brothers older than me, a lot older than me, uncles, grandfathers, and sons, all locked up in the same cell house. And it just bothered me. I never felt threatened because, there were Muslims in the penitentiary and were brothers that converted to Islam. So I never felt threatened. I always felt safe, but I definitely was empathetic, and it just hurt me to see these guys in jail. And I noticed that whatever system that was putting one generation in jail was also getting the next generation and the next generation. And so I wanted to learn more about the system that keeps us locked up. And that's why I got a master's degree in criminal justice. And then, even as far back as the 90s, I realized it was a school to prison pipeline. And then of course it became a little more popular. That term became a little more popular in the 2000s. But I had read a book from a brother named Kwanzaa Kunjufu. He wasn't a doctor at the time I read the book, but he had a book called Conspiracy Against Black Boys. And how um, he talked about how the school systems were set up to incarcerate young African American men in 8th grade. I mean, at 8 and 9 years old, they would give them these standardized tests, and based on these standardized tests, they would project, based on the low reading scores, how many of them would possibly need prison beds 10 years later. And they would literally set up city bonds, state bonds, in other words, put money up because we're going to need 1,000. I'm just using a number. We're going to need 1,000 beds. If 5,000 of these kids aren't reading at 8 and they're not reading much better by 9, yeah, we're going to need 1,000 beds for these guys in prison, because the reading scores, along with the limited resources and along with whatever funds that they have out there, will drive these young men to the penitentiary. And the younger these guys will get locked up, the longer they'll be locked up. So I tried to figure out my way through the criminal justice system how to counter that, what type of program, what type of intervention could I come up with to stop this school to prison pipeline. And I realized there was just so many gatekeepers that I just couldn't get to them. And I realized that most of the gatekeepers were in the education system. And so then I said, well, maybe I'll go work and get a master's after I got the master's in criminal justice, and let me get a master's in psychology. And I learned a lot about behaviors and characteristics. But then the thing was, once I graduated, I realized this is back in 99, we weren't going to, as a people, we weren't seeking therapy. We weren't accepting any type of diagnosis. You know, we would, something's wrong with your uncle, lock him up in the basement or lock him up in the attic or take him to church and pray. We just would never admit that it's a possibility you have problems socializing with other people. You have issues with boundaries. And so since I couldn't really pick up a caseload of patients with psychology, it drove me to writing. I realized I can write, tell stories, put characters that are non-threatening together, and tell a story with a moral, and then people walk away feeling good, but then it'll also get some type of education. It'll also get some type of moral compass. You know, I'm trying to tap into that moral compass, and it's something that they can reflect on later, and it's definitely something that they would appreciate, you know, during the performance. Several times I've done plays, and I'll have 20, 30 people trying to gather around me, telling me how the play reached them, how it touched them, and it would all be for different reasons. And so that's when I realized that, you know what, it's something to this storytelling. It's something to being able to observe people, watch their behavior, and then say something about it, maybe not directly to them, but through a story. And it's been coming easy for me. It became easier and easier for me. So during the pandemic, we weren't able to really do any plays or shoot anything because we were locked up. I started writing for TV. Started writing TV scripts because I realized those characters they enter our homes and they stay in our homes. And I can't get mad because there's only a couple father figures on television that look like me. If I don't write it, who's supposed to write it? You know. So I made it one of my duties is to write positive father figures. One of my duties is to write positive male role models. I work with the organization right now. I retired from Cook County probation, and but I still have one job. I work with youth guidance as a counselor. They have a program called Becoming a Man, and that was how I was able to get past some of those gatekeepers, because they really are gatekeepers. They really do question everything you're doing, and they want to know why you're trying to be around these kids, and um, they really don't want you doing a whole lot for the kids. You do too much, they're gonna yank your funding and have you sit down. But this organization, Youth Guidance, have been around for 100 years, so they bring in a lot of men of color. We teach these curriculums, and what these curriculums are doing are basically giving them 6 core values that men are supposed to have. And I'm in agreement with the core values of integrity, uh, determination, accountability, uh, positive anger expression, respect for womanhood, and visionary goal setting. I'm in agreement with all those. But as soon as I would try to step outside the box and do something extra, oh, here the gatekeepers come, even in my job and at school. So then that's what I said, I got to go to the next phase. How can I get with these people and really spend quality time with them? Because you're not going to change these kids in 1 hour a week. That's just not, it's not going to work. They have too many distractions that they have to work around and work through to become successful. So when I came up with Lights, Camera, Action, it was to bring the kids in, because I noticed, oh, sorry, Michael, I'm doing I'm doing it. I get it later. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize, you all. I came up with Lights, Camera, Action because, like I said, I noticed during the pandemic, the kids love being in front of a camera. But the thing was, they were producing a lot of counterproductive material. They would have all these different challenges, or they would have all these different pranks that they would put on their parents. I said, well, they love the camera. Why don't I teach them how to write stories that would be just as entertaining, but would have some type of morals, or some type of thought-provoking idea that I'll leave in the middle of this story. When I grew up, that's what all cartoons did. All cartoons had a moral at the end. And so that's the way I tell my stories. It's always, even if it's just 3 minutes, it's going to be something in there that a kid can pick up. And so Lights, Camera, Action is it's a therapeutic program. I based it on drama therapy and narrative therapy. So with the narrative therapy, I literally let them tell their own stories, and we don't shame each other. We just try to expose what might be some of the cause for your erratic behavior or irrational behavior. And so that's what the lights is. The light is to kind of put emphasis or to expose whatever issues have been holding you back. And then the camera is to actually record it, look at it, and process it in action. That's the plan that we are going to come together and try to work on our best lives. My immediate goals right now is to work with these kids, is to teach them more about cameras, something about editing, and something about lighting. I don't know anything but how to write, but there are brothers out there, there are sisters out there that are expert editors. There are brothers and sisters out there that are experts with the lighting and expert. So we're going to bring all of us together, and we're going to be role models, because there's nothing sadder than to be in a room with 15, 20 young men, and they have no male role models. I'll ask them every week, and I don't have no male role models. I mean, my mama didn't work, my auntie didn't work. We all live in my grandmama's house, so I'm couch surfing, but I don't have anyone that's a male figure that looks like me that I can call a role model. And so now what we're going to do with these cameras, we're going to go out and we're going to interview businessmen. We're going to interview leaders in the community. I've taken them on college trips. We've gone to Harris Stowe, and we've gone to Central State, both HBCUs. And I've given them all cameras. I had 8 cameras. I want y'all to go out and interview brothers that are in the fraternities, sisters that are in the sororities. Find out what this college experience is like. Quit saying, oh, I don't want to go to college. You have no idea what college is about. So that experience showed these brothers that college could be something that's rewarding and fun and have a life-changing effect on them. Both colleges we went to, now we're trying to get money together to go to Houston because there are three or four HBCUs that we can stay in a hotel in Houston and drive to the 3 or 4 days we're there. Some of the benefits of that is, first of all, some of these guys have never been on a plane. Second of all, they need to see more than what they see in Chicago. They're pleasantly surprised when they can walk and say, man, no ops. I feel safe. I really don't have to look over my shoulder. And that may seem like nothing to us as adults, but that's a big deal for a kid to be able to walk 3 or 4 blocks and not have to worry about who's looking at him or who's following him. And even though I only put 8 guys in the van, each one of those guys go talk to guys. And that's our goal, is to grow through word of mouth. Through word of mouth. These kids will be going viral, especially once I put some of these scripts together and kind of record some of them. We should be recording our first one next week. We should do the first one. I've already had a second one written. I'm working on a third one tonight. And like I said, they're just 3-minute scripts to deal with issues that everyone can relate to, but at the same time, just a different way of thinking about it, because I don't try to change people's minds. I just want them to pause and think. That's really all I want to do, is pause and think, not necessarily of consequences, but maybe a more effective way of getting things done. Because I don't believe in trying to shame people for how they're living or make them feel bad because this is all they've known. But I just want to expose them to different things. Me getting them in putting them in a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter and driving out of town and pulling them at a nice restaurant and them getting out of a Benz. They feel like, celebrities. And I want my boys to feel good about who they are. I don't pull back with them. I'm not gonna fly Spirit with them because I don't fly Spirit. I'm gonna put them on a plane that I would fly on, and I'm gonna put them in the hotels that I stay in, so that they can feel good about themselves and realize you can do better than me right now. You can start doing better than me right now. And I want to be the male figure, or one of the male figures, that breathe life into these guys. The both trips that I took to those 2 HBCUs, I had 8 seniors and 4 students that I met 8 years ago. They graduated from the band program, but they came back to help me chaperone. These 4 gentlemen all have their bachelor's degrees, and 2 of them are currently in school now to work on their master's degree. So they're helping me chaperone. Part of what I want to do is to prepare a legacy, start building a legacy. And I've told them, I recorded it, but I didn't know I could bring recording, so I didn't bring it. But I've told them I want the 4 chaperones that are here now to become the mentor, take my job. And for those 8 guys that I'm bringing up now to become chaperones later. And every 4 or 5 years, we want to keep adding to this, to where we change the community, because no influx of money or no influx of jobs or factories are going to change this community. We really have to start this change with a mindset, and it comes from us spending time with these boys. A lot of us, the easy thing for us to do is to, oh man, here, bro, here's $500, here's $1,000, and then they gone from it. I spend weekends with these boys. I spend hours with these boys. I don't micromanage them. I give them what I want them to do, and I model how I want them to perform in public, and then I fall back. And as long as I don't hear any negative reports, I allow them to live their life, to explore freely. because they're not going to become adults if I'm constantly treating them like a kid. So I let them move freely. Let them move freely so they can have their way. The narrative therapy will actually ask each student to tell their own story, and we start that with an instrument. It's a not really. It's therapeutic though. It's called an ACEs, which is 10 questions, which is called adverse childhood experiences. And so we take each one. We take the quiz, but in each question, I have the kids work together to write little short scripts. Like once I show them the scripts that I've done, I'm gonna challenge them to write scripts based off ACEs, just to kind of show what it looks like. And then we'll get more people involved in acting. We get more people involved in recording and editing. And then as we work through these ACEs, um, I'm a strong believer that it's hard for you to write about another character or made up character if you don't know who you are. And so I want them to know who they are. And I want them to feel comfortable with whatever challenges they have or whatever talents they have. You know, be humble, of course, but at the same time, I want you to feel comfortable about your blessing. I share with them that I struggle with reading. I struggle with reading. I struggle with comprehension, but that didn't stop me from being a adjunct professor for 10 years. That didn't stop me from getting 2 master's degrees. I just had to find another way to get it done. Um, I'm open with my challenges to encourage them to be open with their challenges and realize they can do things. But their narrative will relate and resonate with other students their age. And then through that, we can start working on how to move without letting that narrative be a hindrance or being a handicap for them. The drama therapy, that's where drama therapy comes in. We take whatever stories they've told or how they, because all of us have stories from childhood, and some of us let those stories build us up, and some of us let those stories hold us back. So we want to examine that story and allow each person to realize what may be holding you back. Like, how is this narrative you've written showing up in your life right now? And it's going to be a process. Sometimes it's the hardest thing to see is what's going on with you. You know, we can always point the fingers at what other people are doing. But when you have to look in the mirror yourself, it can be kind of challenging. So, but that's what we want to, that's where the drama therapy comes in. You make up some characters, you tell your, you do, you tell your story based on your narrative, and then we start producing this, and it will become therapeutic. And then the last phase of this is to take those stories and use those for like for counselors, like record them and put them up for people to be able to use them for their group therapy sessions, or be able to use them for their classroom. A lot of the movies or videos that they have for counseling and for social work, a lot of those movies are dated back as early in the 90s. So we want to put something out there a little more relevant, and definitely put something a little more current and something the kids can relate to. Because I do believe that a lot of the behavior we see with the kids is the result of just wanting more attention. They just want to be heard, just want to be seen, and that's not something that we're accustomed to doing. We chasing bags, we chasing the money. So we need to. This after school program will be to put more emphasis on what the kids are going through. That's about all I really had to say about my program. If anyone had any questions, I'll stick around for that. But the name of the organization, like I say, is Lights Camera Action. I am a 501c3 organization, and I'm also CPS vendor, a vendor for Chicago Public Schools. So if you know someone that's in leadership at a school, I would definitely like to present my program to them. And we will be selling popcorn. I got that idea from my sister. I met a brother that owns his own popcorn company. He sells gourmet popcorn, and we'll be putting out orders. We'll be collecting orders for that during February. Do a 2-week drive in February because he's very generous with the profit sharing. So we'll be selling popcorn and accepting donations for our trip to Houston. So with that, I'll just say that's the end of what I had to say about Lights, Camera, Action. Unless you all have some questions, I'll turn it back over to my sister. Where is my sister?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Oh, what just happened? Okay. Can you hear me, Agin?
Yeah.
Oh, you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for this presentation? Agin, you want to elaborate more on what the how you do you gather your students from the BAM program? Is that what you extending them?
Oh,
I mean,
right now, those students that I have now are from the band program. I did have an idea of like how to launch this just for the general public, like maybe rent out a studio and do it like that. I'm in launching phase right now because there's also a thing called day reporting centers that the Cook County Juvenile Court has set up, and it's to keep kids kind of busy for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I was going to launch it that way, and then I would have had a studio. But right now, the kids are in band, but that's not limited to band because eventually, you know, they're going to be young ladies that are a part of this program. But the launch itself is right now is set in schools, especially since I was able to become a vendor. But eventually, I may have to just get a studio and just start working like that. Oh, Rashida, I'll give Rashida my information. What I'll do is I'll give her my name, phone number, and any donations. I can write a letter, a 501(c)(3) letter that will be able to, you'll be able to write it off on your taxes. I don't know how to share this video I have. Rashida, is there a way I can share a video real quick?
You're on mute.
Huh?
I don't know what.
No, I'm not mute.
I'm out.
No. No, I was asking, is there a way I could share a video?
Sister Rashida, you're on mute.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question.
Yes. What your little sister
Okay. My question is, because I missed a very few minutes of your introduction, but have you and the young man that you're working with, have you been able to produce a short film or short?
Not so right now. I wrote a piece. It's 3 minutes, and so me and the guy are rehearsing, and we will be shooting this. We should be shooting next week. We should be shooting next week, and I believe that would just kind of open the floodgates because a lot of kids are scared. No one wants to be the first one, but then once they see this kid do it, because then we'll get the other ones done. Like I said, I have two written. I'm working on another one this weekend, and I finished that. And basically, all I'm trying to do is like have the kids kind of recognize some of the things that they can relate to, and then also realize there's a way to work around it. Um, the first piece of the kids and I are working on, I kind of set it up between a father, a son, and the father's paying like child support, and he's like upset with the way he's living, and the father just kind of acknowledges, hey, listen, man, I'm doing my part. What's going on with you is something you have to work with your mother. And then the father also says, listen, don't try to shame me. Just ask for what you want. That's all I want kids to do. I would rather kids learn how to ask for what they want instead of walking around feeling upset and disappointed. I tell kids all the time is that there are only two things you can do with your emotions. You're either going to control your emotions or they're going to control you. And if you try to hold them down, you can't hold them down. They're going to explode. And that's why we have inappropriate outbursts. And that's why kids are acting out. They're not mad at teachers. They're not mad at classmates. They're walking around with too much disappointment in their life. So no, sister, to answer the question, we'll have something done before the month is out.
Okay, I have another question if it's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so given your background of psychology and having worked in criminal justice, are there any particular therapeutic techniques um, or strategies that you use in working with these young men who, as you said, are coming with very complex backgrounds, very complex issues? So that's my question.
I'm to be completely honest with you, no matter what I've learned, it comes back to nature. You really just have to listen. You really just have to listen to these kids, and they will be able to articulate what's really going on with them. And then while they're talking, if you don't interrupt them, if you don't judge them, if you don't interrupt them, a lot of times I found kids have come up with some type of action plan in their talking. But then it takes, you have to spend time with them. You can't just have them come to your office and then they're just gonna dump on you. No. You go to their basketball games, you show up at the football games, you walk the halls, you spend time with them during lunch, and they build a rapport. Because that's the biggest thing I would say is rapport building and actually listening. That's what I found worked. I've been working with Department of Corrections since 1981. So that's what worked in jail. I'm in prison. That's what worked when I was working with parolees. And now I'm working with juveniles on probation. The one thing that's always worked is listen to those kids and spend an extended period of time with them. That's what's always worked.
Okay, and I have one more question, if that's okay,
Sure.
Sister Rashida. Okay, and brother Agin, and that is, and I won't ask any more. I won't dominate time.
No. I committed to an hour.
Okay, my question is there a female version or any sisters who are doing similar work for young girls? Because people think that girls get a lot of attention and a lot of support, but girls are really struggling. And their struggles, of course, are quite different than boys because, oftentimes they're, in a position where they have to take on more responsibilities than they're really able to handle with maybe the care of younger kids or helping their parents. So just wondering about that.
Okay, so like right now, I'm working with a sister that's actually better at editing and shooting than me. And we're trying to get some things together because she does expungement as well. So our plan is to not leave anybody out. Our plan is to work with who wants to work with us. And so in its infancy stage, a lot of times, kids may not see a vision. And even the kids that are with me didn't really believe it was gonna work. But as we continue to move, like the first script that I wrote was for young women. And it's not necessarily like saying I don't write to shame or embarrass anyone. I just want you to have something to think about. And because if we try to dump on our young people, they will walk away from us. So we got to keep it kind of lighthearted, but we got to be steady with it. And we got to show consistency. We got to be there for them when they need us. We got to listen to them and allow them to express themselves. So no, I'm working with a sister, and I plan on, like I say, most of the scripts I write will include women, because this is not going to get done without sisters. We're not going to straighten up our community without sisters. A lot of times it's easy for the brother to say, the sisters ran him off, but then we also need to, ask the sisters to kind of soften up a little bit. Understand the brother is going through a lot. And even though it may not seem like a lot to the sister had a role model. A lot of times the brothers don't have role models. So we got to understand he may be the first generation trying to be a good father or trying to be a good student, trying to graduate high school or college, trying to maintain a job and take care of his responsibilities. He don't have no role model with that. If anything, he got an excuse to say, man, I ain't got to do it. I ain't have no daddy. Why I got to be a daddy? So we have to work with the young women as well as with the young men to understand this is a community effort. This is not just about lifting the brothers up and letting the sisters fend for themselves. That's not what I'm talking about. Like again, I guess I'm not trying to shame anyone. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad about what they've been doing. I just want people to consider some other options. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know we worked together. You came and presented to my students.
Right.
And I was able to, it was a comfort for them to be able to count on just knowing somebody was willing to listen to them and kind of like hear their side of what was going on, that sometimes might not have to do with academics, but it's just, are you interested in me as a person? Because a lot of I know one of my husband's favorite lines is, and I know I've heard it, people don't care, what was it? They don't care about what you care about until they know that you care. Something along those lines. Where it's like, I'm not interested in, if you want me to be interested in something that you got going on, then I'm gonna need you to show some interest in me first.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's something that I tried, but the environment of my high school really didn't encourage it. It was kind of one of the things that was minimized. And like you said, gatekeepers. When you say gatekeeper, I promise you, I had a gatekeeper and was at the administrative level. And I mean, at the administrative building, but the high up person, they wanted me to work so hard just to bring in something where I had to come up and find my own grant. They wanted me to find a grant to cover you all, BAM, actually coming to our building. And it didn't make any sense because, like you said, if this is to benefit the children, why are you giving me such a hard time? What do you think my ulterior motive is except to help them? I had to present who was coming, and I know they said that was kind of necessary because you had you just couldn't have anybody presenting in front of students, but it just felt like they were giving me such a hard time and giving me so much resistance. And the thing that kind of a lot of our youth use as an outlet, and it's not a bad thing, is sports. They would rather suppress how they're feeling and just give all they can for the team and get their accolades that way, rather than actually dealing with what's going on with them. Or because what they don't realize is once you're injured, you're no more use to them. And if you're no more used to them, then what are you supposed to do with all of that pent up aggression that you had, that you was given to the football field, or you was given on the basketball court? And the teachers don't seem to really care about how you doing unless you are a part of something. You're a part of what are you doing for the school? What are you giving to the school? If you're an athlete, okay, I guess I could take an interest in you. But if you're not an athlete, then it's just kind of like you get shoved under the rug. And truth be told, this generation that's coming up now, they are so resistant to you trying to help them. As hard as you trying to help them, that's how hard they trying to not to be helped. And that comes from years and years of either you being frustrated with what the gaps you have in your educational experience, or just you never feeling like you were seen or valued. So why should I buy into this? And that becomes a struggle. So it's I applaud you for being a part of the solution, especially during this wonderful month of the year, Black History Month, to be able to highlight the fact that there are men who are not just in it to just get the bag, as you say, but they're really trying to leave a legacy for others to follow. So I just had a question. Someone asked, can you tell us more about BAM?
Well, see, I'm not promoting BAM. I'm promoting Lights, Camera, Action. BAM is doing a wonderful thing, but see, BAM has to work under a tight paradigm. You get 1 hour a week to try to reach kids. And I know we need more than 1 hour a week. We need extended time. We need Saturdays. We need weekends. We need Zoom meetings during the week. We really need to build more of a fraternity than just what BAM has allowed us to do. BAM does allow me to see the kids, but my overall goal is to be larger than BAM. BAM is a program that'll be there way after I'm gone, but that's not something that this is about. This is about Lights, Camera, Action. And to piggyback on what you were saying, Rashida, I've taken these kids to St. Louis and to Central State out of my pocket. I bought cameras out of my pocket because I knew I was going to become a vendor. And as soon as I presented my invoice, now the principal's saying, oh, it's too much money. Wait a minute, so your nephews are in the program with us. We went to Harris Stowe where your son goes to school. As you know, I'm spending this money exactly the way I said I was spending it. Yeah, but that's too much money. So my thing is, why is it we have money for some things and we don't have money for other things? You know, we got there's a nail. I mean, I guess it's a company coming in teaching girls how to paint nails. It's another hair nail techs. There's another. They didn't quite get the beautician thing going off the ground. They bought some of the equipment, but they find cameras. They find money for some things. But then as soon as brother asked for some money, and I've already put up a lot of my own money. Now what's the problem? And I don't want to disappoint these boys, but then part of me say that's just what they deserve. But But what do I benefit from throwing a sister under the bus? And I know that whatever I think of or whatever I believe can happen will happen. So I believe that. I know it's a good idea. The money will come. And I don't need to get upset because a sister could have gave it to me, didn't give it to me. She would feel some type of way if I left her nephews out on this trip. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find this money and we're going to make this happen because this will be something that kids can look at years later and find, man, they can quit saying, I don't want to go to college. At least they'll have an idea of what a college experience is like. But the gatekeepers are real. I mean, to the point to where the woman I'm working with literally is not trying to give me this money. I gave her the invoice a month ago. I ain't heard nothing from her. I see her every day. Hey, you get a chance to get, I haven't got to it yet. I'm able to share a video, Rashida.
I've been trying to get allow me to push the share buttons. Sister Glory, do you have the capacity?
It was just a short video. It's only like 3 or 4 minutes. Someone asked, did I have a video? And I did want to share this one video. We shot this a couple of weeks ago. And it just kind of give an idea of what interview some of the kids and show we trimmed it down, but just want to get the kids used to talking in front of the camera and actually give us some insight. And I'm afraid, I don't know if I cut it on now, what'll happen, because you got to share my screen, I know.
Sister Glory, can you do that?
Well, I will certainly try, but you have to make me co-host because
Oh, I thought you were the host.
no.
Okay, let me see.
While you're doing that, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
This is
Okay,
Bashir
it
Assad.
says that I'm on as a host, so let's see if I can do that. Go. I'm sorry, brother Bashir. Please proceed.
You
I'll
can
see
cut
what I
me
can
off.
do.
You can cut me off at any time. And thank you for coming on. I knew Agin Muhammad Senior, and I can see that in you. So the genes is strong. I came in on a little late.
Okay.
Okay, so, but I don't know if this has any relationship to what you're doing, but it was something Imam Wardi Muhammad said in relationship to culture, and he said theaters that will be healing sinners. But here's a short excerpt. He says, I do believe we're going to be successful in addressing cultural needs as well as material. We will be looking for opportunities to have theaters that will be healing centers, good entertainment designed to heal the soul and the mind, to free the mind for productive work. By that way, we did songs, and back at that time when when Imam Wardi Muhammad came into office, they were developing songs. You say so. We're expected to do more of that. You are obligated to do more of that. And eventually we will have our theaters showing Islam, showing us as Muslims who accepted our responsibilities to better the environment we share with Christians and others. So I don't know if this had a relationship.
No, that has plenty to do with it, brother, because one thing I be honest with you, my father kind of didn't encourage the arts. He discouraged the arts. But I'm meant to be a storyteller. My mother said, well, why don't you just be a minister, be an imam? And I'm a storyteller. But the first story I wrote was called A Man's Gotta Do What a Man's Gotta Do. That title itself implies some moral compass. So I'm able to tell a story with several characters, all of them different characters. I'm not saying I have real characters in there. Some of them may not look like Muslims. Some of them may not act like Muslims. But the one with the strong moral compass would be the one that stands out. I'll always make the person that has high moral values, that will be the star character of the show. All right. I try to use realistic characters because I don't want it to look like I'm in some special magical setting. No, this is a real setting, but then there are real people in this setting that have values. And we're going to encourage those values. And so the arts, music, pictures, theater need to be encouraged. I feel some type of way that we don't have our own theater. I feel some type of way about that. I saw Tyler Perry come up from small theaters to now he's got 15 shows on television, got his own movie theater. We've been around as a community much longer than that. But we're not putting our emphasis on the arts. The arts are what's gonna transition from generation to generation. I listened to a song the other day called Summer Madness, and it was by Kool and the Gang, and some of those brothers identified, as Muslims. We wanted to play that song at our high school graduation at the Muhammad University, but we weren't allowed to play it for whatever reason. They said, no, we got to do a traditional graduation. Okay, I'm a kid, what can I say? But hearing that song, that song is over 50 years old. It still resonates with me now. we need to tell stories and produce music that resonate with people 40, 50 years from now. And I think we're missing an opportunity to do that when we don't find other channels to communicate. You know, if we only communicating through weekly services, we're not reaching the masses. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, let's just only talk to the brothers that are part of the mass cheer. Okay, but what about the other millions of brothers that are out there? We're not reaching them, and that's not creating a safe environment. You know, they say right now we're only really using 10% of our brain. To explore the other 90%, it's going to have to be through creativity. See, it only takes 10% of your brain to do what you do every single day. If you never change, only 10% of your brain. But when you start thinking outside and you start testing your creativity daily, that's when you'll be able to use more than 10% of your brain.
Again, we had a question.
Yes.
Someone asked, what learning methodology did you use to aid your trajectory toward obtaining 2 master's degrees?
I pass this on to my students because I struggle with reading. I'm dyslexic. So what I would do, I would get a book. Let's say my book is 300 pages. I'm going to get a 70-page composition book, and I'm going to highlight whatever's in the book. There'll always be questions in the beginning of the chapter, and there'll also be questions in terms in the beginning of the chapter, and there'll be questions at the end of the chapter. Every chapter I went through, the least I'm going to have is every one of those bold words. I have the definition for that. Every one of those concepts that I'm supposed to get out of the chapter, I'll be able to answer that. And I'm also answering the question at the end of the chapter. If I do that for every chapter, I'm going through 2 composition books per class. What I write, I tend to be able to memorize. And that's what worked for me. And then when I got to graduate school, I just realized, the teacher's saying, oh, we need y'all to read between now and Labor Day, which would be only 1 week. I need y'all to read 5 chapters. I'm like, my goodness, how are we going to do this? And the sisters usually have already read the chapters over the summer. I didn't know to do that at first. I said, we're going to break these chapters down. We're going to do the same thing. And then we'll just exchange these notes with each other. And then we'll be able to break these books down quicker. So I did it with note taking and with working with my classmates. And it worked. It worked all the way through grad school.
Well, Agin, I'd like to say this too, Agin, that your father had developed a method of language. I don't know if you were in his class at that time, but my children benefited from it. And it was an original methodology that he set up to teach language. So I can see that, yeah, what you were able to do in the methodology that you use.
I do like to keep things simple, and then whenever I had to write my thesis, I had notebooks of several handwritten notebooks. So like we had to take a comprehension exam at the end of my psychology program, and every professor I had was allowed to put questions on this comprehension exam. Well, I got notebooks from every one of y'all that I hand wrote. I've got notes from lectures. I've got notes from the books. So whatever you ask me, it's in one of these notebooks I wrote. And so like a lot of times students you would still take the standardized test, but you also had to take this comprehension exam from the department. And in that department may be 10 different professors. They can ask you whatever they want to ask you, and you're expected to remember that no matter when you took that class. So I had handwritten notes on all that. So I was able to literally not give a short answer, but I'm giving page and a half answers on everything they asked me.
Rashida, Brother Clyde has his hand up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What?
No problem. I wasn't going to rush. I know you was talking about showing a film, so I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that still, but she'll let me know if I can.
Sister Gloria, can you show it?
It's not working on my device. I'm on my phone,
okay.
So I'm not able to bring up share screen.
Okay, I got it, Agin. Let me see.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I'll wait until after that. What I want to say, I
Okay.
want to break your flow because it's flowing right now.
Okay.
No, brother Clyde, go ahead. You was my first customer.
I, I'm really proud of you too.
Oh, thank you, Brother Clyde.
I'll
I'm
say
still trying to
this.
get on to Kenny King. I got a brother say I did interview. I've been trying to get on Kenny King for 20 years. I had a second interview with Ted Williams. He's over the well, he's one of the chairpersons at the for political science, and I met with another doctor that's over the psychology department. So I'll be an adjunct over there
When and what discipline?
for psychology. For psychology.
Are you an adjunct now?
No, I never got in there. I've been trying
Do
to
you
get
want to
in.
be? Do you want to be an adjunct
Yes, sir. I've been trying
over
to do that
there?
for 10 years.
Well,
At that school.
Ted Williams kind of owes me. I mentored him into
He
Kennedy
told
King.
me that. He told me that. He said,
Well,
yeah,
then,
he said,
well,
oh,
then
Brother Clyde.
well, he and I gonna have to talk, okay?
Yeah, he said you were. He told me you were his mentor. He told me exactly that.
Yeah, he says I
He's
still
working on
am.
his PhD now.
But anyway, as you were talking about how you managed to get through, how you managed to study, the study approaches that you were using them because you were dyslexic. Those work for anybody. Most of our students coming from schools in our community really come out of school without knowing efficient learning skills and strategy. They're first generation for the most part. They haven't had an example of that because that's what makes them more competitive, as well as some other things that they know to do to play the college game to stay ahead, because it is a game. It's a cutthroat game of competition,
Yes,
and
sir.
and they will never tell you what they're doing to beat you out. And I still dream of having something that we can do with a lot of our children. And I think it would be great if it came out of the Muslim community, giving our children that doggone advantage. Because
Yes, sir.
you know, you going in with a basketball team and they playing football.
Yes, sir.
And you don't
Yes,
know
sir.
that that's what they're doing. And they're not going
Yes,
to tell you,
sir.
because they're there to win.
They're not going to tell you.
They're there to win.
Yes,
So
sir. They will sign us up because they got a quota to keep. Oh, we signed up six boys from the West Side of Chicago. We doing
right.
our thing. And then those boys will be gone by December. They'll sign them up for August. They'll be gone by December. But they did their thing. So now y'all going to send us that grant money we asked for, because we are diversified. We are DEI. We're diversified. And we're inclusive and all that. And all they got to do is sign up 8 boys every year. That's why I take these boys to HBCUs, because those professors are going to follow you around, make sure you show up. They go to the dorms, knocking on doors. I've met coaches. Son, your mama ain't sending you down here to play on PlayStation. I'll get to the library or get to class. You coming about this room. Coaches do that. But see, that's HBCU. That's not the PWI. The PWI will let you fail.
They're there for somebody else to win. And I'm going to say this, I hope I can say this in 30 seconds. How I got an education was I was a part of the first support services program we developed for Black students at University of Michigan. We had the freedom to develop that program the way we wanted to develop it, and we used a lot of what you're saying, except we formalized the study groups a whole lot more. We told the students, some classes you ought to sneak in the class for a whole semester and sit in the back as an audit, and then sign up for it. You got to get the advantage. You got to know what and who you are competing with.
Yes, sir.
We always win on a fair playing field.
Yes, sir.
The playing field is not fair. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And your father taught me a lot about teaching, including what brother Bashir was talking about, because he napped VATSI. That's how he came up with the way for us to learn the parts of speech. For the students to learn the parts of speech, it worked for me when I was working with my students, and he and I talked a lot about this same kind of situation. But how do we work creatively to give our students an advantage, because they are coming to compete with students that they don't know have certain advantages.
Happens about. Yes, sir. Yeah. The reason why I did this lights, camera, action is because the thing is, if I can get a kid to memorize a script, if I can get a kid to write his own script, what are we talking about now? I've had classes as an adjunct where kids did not know about the Tuskegee experiment. Students that could not write cursive. So if we could teach these kids basic writing, learn scripts, learn to read, public speaking. See, a lot is done with theater. And I think, you know what I'm saying, as a community, we're missing a golden opportunity. This theater is here for a reason.
Yeah.
Theater is here for a reason. It's to pass on stories, it's to create stories, it's the news report of this period. The stories I write now will be history 20, 30 years from now. But we need to transfer that. You all know that they're trying to pull out the history books, the idea of a slave, the idea of a what's the transatlantic, like
Transatlantic.
passage. They're trying to write all that away. So you know what? No, these were just, you all were just indentured servants. Indentured refugees was the first one. Like, refugees, what was we running from? But that's the narrative they want to tell. So our children right now, my granddaughter won't know anything about a slave unless I tell her. She won't know what we've endured. They'll be to wipe out the civil rights movement. The movies they got out right now, my sister and I shared, they showing Malcolm X and Martin Luther King as being very promiscuous from college on, from penitentiary on. They trying to discredit our men from the onset. I didn't even finish watching it. Because as soon as I heard him say, "Oh, Martin, you know the only reason why you want to come up with this so you could get with more girls," I'm like, really? That's what y'all gonna say about this great man? The man is past. Why are you gonna bring up dirt on him? What's the benefit of that? But that's them rewriting our narratives. I saw the play that was based on the meeting. None of that stuff was in the meeting. The meeting was a powerful play, but it took place in a hotel room. And they rewrote it and changed it, and they're gonna make it seem like these are common men that got some press. That's them telling our story. We got to tell our own stories, man. We got to. We got to quit acting like this is not as important as any other method of learning.
Well, I thank you, Agin, so very much for your time. I truly appreciate you sharing your project with us. And I want to be the first person, and I wanted to give you the first opportunity to let you know how much I believe in your program. And that's why I wanted to make sure that you had an audience to share it with, because I wish I had more power to give you with the funds that you need to be able to put this on the map. But I know that as long as you are allowed a platform to speak on it, then it's going to come to
exactly. The more I talk about it, the more it's going to happen. And I'm gonna put on some plays because I can raise money through plays. But we need to support the plays. We need to support the plays. We need to when we talked about BAM, there are over 7,000 BAM members. There are over 140 BAM counselors. I only had 2 BAM counselors show up to my play. So when we don't support, then that's what makes things kind of go away. But we have to support. But that's because as a neighborhood, we don't believe in therapy. We don't think we need therapy, even though we know we need haircuts. We know we need to get our hair done. For some reason, we think our brain just gonna run seamlessly through all these distractions and interference we have. We think our brain just gonna respond appropriately to everything. No, we need therapy, but we don't think we need therapy. We think, oh, if you get too bad, put them in the attic, put them in the basement, you know. And we need theater. We really do need theater. We need a different medium.